Self-journal day one. Talk about the Jeep a little bit. It's more of a project than I was expecting it to be. When I got it, the guy gave me this linear actuator that was supposed to engage or disengage the parking brake. And I thought, well, if you're out on a trail and you hit a little switch and you wait, it's gonna take forever. So I thought, forget that, I'm gonna fabricate a handle and just basic pivot handle, and it pulls the cables and everything. And I did it, and it was my first welding job, and I was pretty proud of it. And then found out that the cables weren't connected to anything, because that's something that they don't do on those kinds of Jeeps when they put these aftermarket rear axles on them that are made for a lot better flex and weight. Needless to say, that sent me down a whole track of trying to figure out how to put some kind of an e-brake on this thing, and it is going to cost money and time. It's not recommended to do the cables anymore because those cables may not flex as well with the drop that a 4-inch lift on the Jeep can do. It could potentially pull the brake on and lock up the parking brake or e-brake while you're traveling over a rock or boulder or obstacle, or it might just snap the cable completely off. So either way, it's not the recommended method. What they really recommend, the multiple experts I talked to, is an inline hydraulic brake lever. So what you do is you press your foot on the brake and it engages the disc brakes. And then you pull this lever, it goes about 90 degrees, and it puts a block on the hydraulic fluid inline, keeping that pressure on the disc brake pads when you let go of the foot pedal. That's great. It only lasts for about 2 to 3 minutes though, because there is a slow leak of the pressure back through through the ball valve of the handle. Well, the bigger challenge is if you do that on a Jeep like this Jeep that has an ABS system in it, you have to have 2 handles, one for each brake. Or you'd have to be really good at fabricating 2 handles together to be perfectly in line and connect into the 2 different lines, and then you could, move those 2 handles together. The way I picture it is like the throttle on an aircraft where you have 4 engines, but you can lock them all together and move all 4, or you could disconnect and then just move one throttle up and down of a specific engine if you need it. That is probably not the right solution here either. So my final solution, just thought of a Sabaton song titled Final Solution. ADHD moment. If you remove the ABS system, rerun or repipe your brake lines, you can come off of the what we call proportioning valve, which you have to put in place if you don't have the ABS system. I'll explain an ABS, a proportioning valve in a minute. Anyways, if you take the ABS out, put this proportioning valve in, you can run one single line for your rear brakes off of it, put your inline lever in there, and then after that you can do a T and then reconnect to both brakes. This will affect your braking from the pedal as well, because now it's going through one line. That's not a big deal because A, the back brakes don't take very much pressure as much as the front brakes do, and old systems before ABS had one line that did that, so not a big deal. So the proportioning valve, it's only connected to the rear, and it reduces the amount of pressure of hydraulic fluid going to those rear brakes. If you didn't have that on there, you would have 100% of your brakes going to the front and rear, and your vehicle could just become this sliding bobsled essentially. So you put this proportioning valve in, and it reduces the amount of pressure going to the rear brakes, so that now you're doing something like a 70% front, 30% rear. Well, they make adjustable ones so that you can adjust the rear so that you can make it 80-20 or 60-40, 50-50 if you want it. But either way, you want to have one of those in there so that you're not just locking the rear brakes up all the time and trying to slide everywhere. It looks like I'm going to be going that route and putting the proportioning valve in place. I reached out to the company that I am purchasing yet another project piece for this Jeep, and that is a Hydro Boost brake pump. The vacuum booster that's on the stock Jeep does not work well with upgraded kits like this has. The front is a 14-inch Willwood. The rear right now is the stock 12-inch, but I have 14-inch discs coming for it. The only kit I could find that matches my 5.5 bolt pattern from these old G2 axles inside a Curry enclosure, axle housing, is from Terraflex, and they use the stock calipers with a relocation bracket. So where the calipers normally mount to the disc, when you put a larger disc on there, these are going to hit, so you have to bring them out. Well, it's kind of a half-assed solution because you're getting the same amount of surface area on a bigger disc, so you're not really gaining that much surface area contact that you would get with a larger caliper. But nobody makes a caliper with a 14-inch that will fit on that thing with a 5.5 bolt. That's the challenge. It's not that they don't make them, they do. And Terraflex has a kit, the Delta, which is a phenomenal performance looking kit, but you'd have to change out the axles to have a spindle with a 5.25 bolt pattern, or like most people do with the Dana 60, and why this guy didn't do that I don't know, go up to an 8 bolt pattern. The challenge is, of course, if you change the 5.25 or 5.5 to a 5.25, you got to change your wheels. And this has already got these really beefy 17-inch beadlock wheels with 40-inch tires on it. So that's all going to cost a lot of money, because replacing axle shafts, you got to replace the seals, and you got to do all kinds of stuff, and it's just ugh. So the most cost-effective and easier approach, fastest approach right now, is going to be this this brake kit with the extension bracket. At least give me a bigger rotor so there's a little bit more cooling surface area under those heavy loads. And then I've got the Hydro Boost brake pump, which will replace the vacuum booster. Now they do make a big brake vacuum booster kit. Mopar makes it. It takes forever to get. They make them like once a year, and when I called Jeep, they looked it up in the system and they showed that there were 113 on back order. I was part of one of those numbers because I had ordered online, but I called in just to see, hey, do you have any idea when these are going to come? It seems that they make them once a year in batches and then ship them out, and so it's very, very difficult to get. Talking with a couple of experts in the field, they said that they only give you about a 5 to 10% increase in your braking capacity, which isn't very much on a heavy Jeep with these huge tires and wheels and axles. So we're back to the Hydro Boost, which will use hydraulic pressure, and that gives you over 2,000 psi braking capability. So it should help the Jeep actually shut down and brake, unlike right now when you hit the pedal and you hope that it's going to stop. What else about brakes? I think that's about it for the brakes right now. I'm waiting for a call to see about the proportioning valve, see how much it costs and if I can get one ordered, and then I'll probably start pulling the braking system out, start looking for the custom tubing or a way to convert this or be able to extend the stock brake lines to the new proportioning valve, as well as the fronts to the master cylinder. and see if there's a coupler kit or something I could do, or if I have to just go buy all new line and bend it and all that kind of stuff. So that's it for brakes at this time for the Jeep. I'm going to pull out the handle assembly that I built because there's no reason to keep that, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove those cables because if there's no use having those cables. I'm not going to have those cables in there. They're just hanging out there doing nothing. So, whoa, that's the end of this journal segment. Have a good one.